I'm Katrina, and this is Tare, and today this is our first video. We're going to be cooking some squashes from our the National Heirloom Expo. You can see there's a whole bunch of stuff over here. A lot of them were squashes from the Heirloom Expo. Some of them, like these pumpkins, I grew, and a lot of these, if you guys saw me there, those are more of that hybrid zucchini. It was a yellow crookneck and a black beauty that crossed. And they are ending up storing really, really well. And obviously that's not the right way to store them. If you have space, have them in dark and have them, you know, not all scrunched together. But this is how we have it. Now, I'm going to show you what I do with Delicata squash. This is what they look like. As they get riper, they kind of get, the green goes away and turns into orange. And so that's what they look like. There's lots of different varieties of Delicata. I am going to just cut one of them today because we don't need both of them for the meal. But I wanted to show you that as they ripen, they do lose that green part, but it is still ripe enough to eat with the green part. Now, you can either choose to peel it with a peeler or eat the skin. And this is a variety that I eat the skin on. It ends up being pretty soft and tender when you cook it. And so this is a very, very, very simple recipe. So Delicata squash is a sweeter squash. You are not going to want to put it into a lot of savory dishes. You could, but it really is just good on its own. It's kind of in that in-between flavor of savory and sweet. It's not quite sweet. I'm not gonna, you know, add a bunch of sugar to it and make it into a pie or anything like that. But it's good just as a vegetable as is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chop it up and we're gonna cook it in some avocado oil. That's it, guys. If you want to add salt or other flavorings, go ahead. I don't. But if you've been on my channel for a while, you know I don't really add a whole lot of salt. So if you like salt, add it. Anyway, so I'll take you down here and show you how we do this. And yes, I know I'm wearing a black sweatshirt with little white hairs. We bred one of the rabbits today. So that's what that's about. All right, let's take you down here. So as I said, I just chop it up. So these are some fun tomatillos that I have sitting here because I'm going to do something else with them tomorrow when I collect more. But those are some fun tomatillos. Anyway, so you can make rings and just slice down. I'm actually going to slice the top and the bottom, then slice it in half. And the reason for that is to get the seeds out, because if you just do the rings, it's just more time consuming. Plus they all fit in the pan better if you have half circles. But if you want to be a little more creative looking with your dish, presentation wise, you can just make rings. And as always, make sure you wash off this, especially if you're going to keep the peel. But even if you're not going to keep the peel, because you are cutting through it. I did not cut straight. And remember to keep your hands above the knife, because yeah. Now, if you got seeds at the Heirloom Expo, you can plant every single one of these and get an awesome squash. But it might not be the squash that it might not be exactly what this is. So that's something to be aware of. If they were all grown in the same field as other delicatas and that's the only thing grown, then these would be true to type. Squashes readily cross though, so that is something to think about. You might not actually get what you're asking for if you pick this up at the Heirloom Expo. I don't know if they planted this particular variety in one field or with other things, so just a warning there. Now these seeds do come out pretty well. You can eat them too. I think just like any other one. Somebody tell me different if that's not true. I like to use a ice cream scoop to get them out. You could probably just use a spoon on this one. And you can decide how much of the stringy stuff you need to get out. There's not a whole lot of it. And then you can feed those seeds to your animals or to the worms. Worms won't eat seeds, but fun fact, they will grow you some plants. So ice cream scoop is a little bit wide for this. Okay, As I said, if you want to peel this, go ahead and peel it. You can peel it whole or you can peel it at this point. I'm not going to peel it. And when I can eat the skins of things, they tend to have lots of nutrients in with them. But I am going to cut these somewhat thin, not super thin, but somewhat thin. Now the key to cooking things evenly is to have even slices. So if you're not good at doing thin slices, you could do thick slices. Make sure they're all thick. If you're really good at doing really thin slices and that's what you want, make sure they're all about the same. And then you'll do good. So I like to have this dish all by itself, all on its own. And like I said, it's very simple. Other things you could do with this, you could bake it and you could make like a zucchini boat kind of, but with this instead. You can cut it up and cook it in whatever you want, really. But it's nice to explore the different flavors of the squashes, because then you'll have, you kind of know what to do with it once you know the basic flavor. And you can tell the basic flavor of things pretty well by the smell. So if you start paying attention when you're cooking to what your foods smell like, you can start to understand what seasonings go with them. If it's a sweet dish or a savory dish, if you want to add something to it, just go based off of your smell. And I actually cook based off of smell quite a bit. And if you know me in person, you know that I smell everything. Like, it's just something that people are like, why do you smell things so much? I'm like, because I do. Deal with it. But I think going based off of smell, you'll have a much better idea about what your dish should be. And basically, like, every delicata squash of that variety is going to have a similar profile, right? There's different kinds, but they're all going to be, good by themselves. Whereas the jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, the big jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, they're not that tasty, right? If you're going to eat them, you really have to dress them up. You're not likely to just cook them up and eat them. There's different varieties of things that have, you use this for this, you use this for this. But then there's some that you can just decide what to do with once you open it. And I am going to do that with some of these. Some of these I don't have any idea what they taste like, smell like, or anything. Some of them I do. And for those that I don't, I'm going to have a couple of ideas in my head with the resources to make them available to me, so that when I cut them open, I will know, okay, I'm making this dish, or I'm making this, oh, it might need a little bit of this spice or that spice. So that's where you can come into, if you're experienced cooking, you can kind of know that as you go and say, well, this needs a little more of this needs a little more of that, or this would really complement it. Or if you're not experienced, now's the time for experimentation. So some of these are quite large. These ones are small. Some of them are quite large. Experiment with them. I mean, you're going to see, here's half of one of the delicata squashes. Here's half of it, right? And that's going to fill a pan. It's going to probably more than fill a pan. So you're going to have, with one of these, more than one opportunity to make something. So I love the scalloped edges, and they just make you smile. Anyway, so we're going to get started on this. Now that we have them cut up, I'll show you about how thin that is. It's about, I don't know, what is that, guys? 1/4 of an inch? Something like that. And we're going to get started. Here we go. Now, I cook with cast iron. Most of my cooking is done with cast iron, unless it's acidic, like a tomato or salsa, something like that. I cook with cast iron. And if you don't cook with cast iron, that's fine. Cast iron will heat up faster. So if you're looking at anything I'm cooking with timing and stuff like that, it might be longer. It also more evenly distributes the heat on the pan itself. So when I cook on cast iron, I never go higher than medium, unless I'm doing steak, then it goes a little bit higher. But I always go on medium when I do this, and if you heat up the pan and the oil before you put in your stuff, no matter what the stuff is, and if your stuff is room temperature, then that is the best, because you're not going to get things sticking and you're going to cook things really well that way. There's a tip. So here's some olive oil, not olive oil, avocado oil. You could do this in olive oil too. I just think avocado oil gives it such a good flavor. I've also done this with, let's see. I've also done this with sesame oil. That is also good. And basically it's going to get a little bit of flavor from whatever the oil is. So I am coating this pan. It's always good to coat your pans when you have cast iron, because it soaks up the cast iron, it soaks up the oil. If you are working with something that's not cast iron, you don't need as much oil because it's not going to absorb it. So you can see how much I have in there. It has just a little bit I can swirl around. It's not a whole lot, but it is more than just covering the bottom. Now let's wait for it to heat up just a little bit and we'll come back. Alright, I can feel it's getting quite warm there. I'm going to test this by putting some water on my finger and flicking it in. Looks like it's starting to get warm. So that's the sign that we can put these in. And the more you put in the pan, the more the temperature is going to change. So it was hot and it's going to get cooler with the stuff you put in it. If you were like deep frying this, that would matter. I don't think it matters quite as much with this. And I do have a little bit too much oil, so this might be more of a deep frying. I think I have too much oil, but that's okay. That's okay. Alright, so that is about half of one delicata. I'm going to let that go, and what I'm actually going to do is put a lid over it. And this is a lid that came with the house. So I don't know what it's all about. I think it's aluminum, but it fits this pan perfectly. And I will tell you how long this covers for when it's done. It's 8:38 now. This is 2 minutes later. We might be ready to flip. Let's see. You can kind of see the edges are coming through, and again, this is a little too much oil, unfortunately. But that's okay. So you can start to smell it now. It smells good. And it'll start to get soft too. If you don't have quite as much oil in here, it will get a little bit brown. Don't know that we're going to get that on this. I'll try and push it to the edge a little bit. This is 5 minutes total time. Woo. And it's starting to really smell fragrant. And that, my friends, looks done. See how easy that is to cut through the skin? The skin is still on it. So that is done. Alright. I'm going to throw the next batch in while we snack on these. They're a little oily. Alright, looks like we have extra. Get that going. So these did turn out a little more oily than I wanted. These next ones are going to be a little better because there's less oil in the pan. But let's see how they taste. So good. It doesn't really need anything. That's what is great about Delicata. It doesn't need anything. You could put, like, sage would go well with this. But honestly, also cinnamon would. So you could go either way with this. That's why I say it's kind of in the middle that way. And in the skin, it brings a nutty flavor to it. So It is harder than the rest of it. So if you're a weird texture like that, you might want to peel off, but it'd be easy to peel off. Like, well, I don't know if I can hold the plate and do this, but it would be easy to peel off. Here, let me just hold it. So you could peel it off if you wanted to, but then it does add a nutty flavor. So if you like that, you can keep it. If you don't have to. And also it means that you don't really have to skin it beforehand if you are going to skin it, because it's easy to take off. So, super, super, super easy. I don't even know if it's a recipe. I guess it has 2 ingredients, right? So it's a recipe, but it is super, super easy. And I recommend it. I like Delicata, and it's tasty. So this is my favorite way to use it. I don't mind the 2 different textures. If you mind 2 different textures, then peel it, or either before or after. So anyway, there you go. That is what I do with Delicata squash. So let me know in the comments what you do with your Delicata squashes, and we'll get some new recipes and have a lot of fun. And that's what it's all about, guys. I mean, if you're not having fun in the kitchen, you might as well order in, right? Figure out new things, find out new flavors. If you are growing your own food, you can grow so many different things. Growing your own herbs to go along with these kinds of things, thyme would also be good with this. Oregano would also be good with this. Then once you have all of those spices available to you, you can see what they go with. You can be able to kind of sense what they go with. But this is good by itself. It's time for me to flip these other ones. So I will catch you guys later. If you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're not subscribed yet and you would like to be, you would like to get all the rest of this content, because we have lots of content, all homesteading related, click the subscribe, hit the bell notification, select all, and you'll get all the content. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching. This second batch is turning out more how I like them. They're much more kind of golden, and that's done. Some of them are done, some of them aren't yet. But it's much more golden, and those ones are going to taste a lot better too. They're really good either way. Alright guys, so this is what it looks like when it's cooked more and there's less oil. So I'll show you guys, like this piece right here. See how it has brown on it? It's going to get a little more nuttier flavor when it's cooked more. And the skin is also still the same, like, difference in texture. But it's so good, guys. So good. Try it.